my favorite wrestlers are.
Don't ask Fredo what his favorite wrestlers are. And you can call me Dr. Vandal Drummond, the new name given to me by my paisano, Dan Farron. And Dr. Vandal Drummond has something to say to the youth of America. If you're trying to get high on pharmaceuticals, especially Soma, don't do it. Throw them out. Flush them down. Just get rid of them. You do not need to get high on Soma. You need to get high on Sombra. La Sombra, the most bitchin' wrestler in CML today. CMLL, I should say. CML, if there was a CML, he would be the most bitchin' wrestler in that universe, too.
He wouldn't need a lot.
Not at all, totally. He's the holistic, psychedelic wrestler that has both a beautiful flying move and a beautiful technical finish too. A flying finish, a technical finish. The technical finish I can only call the crotch wrench suplex. It is beautiful. It is sweet. So don't do meth. Don't do pharmaceuticals. Do La Sombra. Greetings.
That sounds kind of disturbing.
I never thought of that.
Sombra. Do Sombra?
Do Sombra.
Please don't do Sombra, people.
Unless you're attracted to him. Yeah. Then you can do Sombra as often as he approves.
As long as he says yes, it's okay.
Yes, remember. As long as he approves.
No means no.
Yes.
You know, that sounds exactly the same as we just talked about 30 minutes ago.
It is. You know, 30 minutes ago, we're having a real sense of deja vu right now, because 30 minutes ago, we were starting this very conversation. And Fredo just peeked at the recording device to make sure that is operative. And that's because the recording started, and we were about 30 minutes into our podcast when we saw...
It wasn't recording.
It wasn't recording. The chip was full. We had no idea that we committed so much work.
All technical difficulties are Kurt Brown's fault.
That's right.
Email him.
Not Vandal Drummond's.
Email him at liger@aol.com.
Blame Kurt Brown, but never blame Vandal Drummond. Vandal Drummond does everything correctly. Kurt Brown is the one...
Vandal Drummond reads instructions.
When you hear a woman named Lucy saying, "That blockhead Kurt Brown messed up again." Now...
Brings back bad memories.
Bad memories, yes. Yes, of my Charlie Brown days. I'm shocked to find that at work when I talk to 20-somethings...
They don't know really.
Seriously. I asked, did you...
Peanuts?
None.
Wow.
I asked several people, like, remember the old Charlie Brown Christmas specials? And they just say... No.
Oh, God, that's sad.
One of them didn't even know who Fleetwood Mac is.
Oh, really? I see, that's just being not really learning. You know, nowadays with the internet, you can learn about a bunch of different things.
Exactly. I'm always finding some new...
Beavis and Butthead are back.
Yes, they have made their return, and are they better than ever, Fredo?
They're pretty good. It was similar to the last couple of years. When was the last show anyways? Like in mid-90s?
I blank.
Yeah.
I remember when they first went on air, because it blew my mind, because before they were on TV, they were a regular feature at the Sick and Twisted animation festivals that showed very disturbing cartoons. They were always midnight shows at movie theaters, and Beavis and Butthead was always the star attraction.
You realize we could actually do like another 2 hours just because we just did like 30 minutes where we talk about wrestling.
Easily.
And then now we're talking about Beavis and Butthead.
That's true. With the exception of La Sombra, we have not said word one about Lucha Libre, I believe. Have we?
No, we haven't.
So...
You know, Beavis and Butthead pretty much leads to that, considering there hasn't been a Beavis and Butthead luchador. Actually, I'm curious if there has been.
It wouldn't shock me, because they've had...
in the U.S.
Every cartoonish trend... It seems Lucha Libre picks up on, from the Ninja Turtles to Pokemon.
Yeah, Thundercats, who we're just watching right now.
Yes. And ladies and gentlemen, you can hear yard work being doing outside the LuchaWorld studios.
It's a Saturday. Oh, great, you should...
We're going to take a pause, because the lawnmower is making music out front. That vicious rat bastard. Goddamn, I'm pissed. And that's not a knock on Super Ratone. That is a knock on vicious rat bastards.
Saturday was probably a bad day to do this.
Oh, boy. We will return in just a moment.
What were we talking about?
We have returned, and the yard work is done. The landscaping outside the LuchaWorld studios looks magnificent. It's a nice, warm, sunny day, and the only sound is the sound outside of somebody shoveling something. I think it might be a grave.
It's the Undertaker. You know, that's the bad thing about living in LA and doing podcasts. There's so much other things you could do. on a Saturday.
This is true. But what can be more bitching than doing a podcast?
Yeah, I think that's the only problem. I mean, it's great, but
this is true.
I mean.
Yep.
I think people understand.
You don't have a bona fide studio that can keep outside noises.
There's people outside all the time.
Away.
Or they start gardening.
Very true. Well, we got to keep the neighborhoods looking nice.
Well, we got to talk about AAA and CMLL being preempted by the Pan Am Games, but we probably won't delve into it because we just talked about it.
We did just talk about it, but no, I am starving for some good action because, as people who have been listening to this podcast know, I am enjoying CMLL so much this year. Even though they're doing some terrible booking, the wrestlers are really good.
And as I said earlier, in like the 30 minutes that are missing, that you could watch all this stuff on YouTube nowadays, so it's not really that. You're not missing it as much.
Yeah.
Just search for it.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I know you can't mention a whole bunch of sites that you can find on YouTube, but you mentioned 2 YouTube users that supply a lot of good CMLL.
I can't mention them this time around.
Oh, Fredo. For the love of Krishna.
Warriors X 2000 and... Well, actually, the Cubs fan. He has a YouTube page. He actually has a lot of the stuff on there, too.
Yeah.
He's like the main guy, too.
Now, as much as I can get a little kick watching some AAA, I swear, I still feel like I'm seeing the same show over and over again.
Oh, yeah. Well, like I was telling you how now you have an excuse not to watch it. It's online, and it's really hard for, like, guys who were born before the internet era, or who weren't really into it, like, at the very get-go, to really start watching on their computer. It's
an adjustment for me. I'll confess. Yeah. I still go to my TV and look for stuff.
With, like, those... What are those, like, those tablets and everything?
The iPads?
Yeah, the iPads, tablets, Kindle Fire. You can watch that stuff on your app and just lay back in your bed and watch it.
This age is so sci-fi. I know at work, the gal next to me, while she was working away...
She had an iPad.
She was watching Breaking Bad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What, on an iPad?
An iPhone.
An iPhone.
A little iPhone. She had it propped up, and I thought...
What episode was she watching?
I don't know what episode she was watching. All I remember was...
Ask her? You didn't go...
I remember seeing Walt, Hank, and the son at poolside, like it seems they always are in every episode.
So it must have been season 1, then.
Probably, because she just got turned on to it.
Oh, jeez.
But I thought...
You should spoil it for her. You said, did you get to the part where the twins? What twins? Tuco?
She actually asked me for some info on an upcoming episode, and I said, it's too good to spoil.
Yeah.
It's...
That's how women are, man. They always want you to spoil the stuff, then they get upset about it.
Yeah. But AAA...
Apologies to any women listening to this show.
Exactly.
But you know what I'm talking about.
And you can be upset at it if you like. We will not be angry at you.
Yeah.
Now, the AAA Heroes Immortales show, and I know I'm butchering that name every time I say it.
Yeah.
You
could just say it in English. Immortal Heroes.
Immortal Heroes show, which featured Sting versus Macias.
And here it comes again.
Here it comes again. You know, let's just ignore that bastard in the background.
I swear.
How did this sound, ladies and gentlemen?
Let me go check.
Fredo is going to see what the gardener is up to. I think the gardener is purposely turning on the lawnmower just to ruin the podcast.
The air blower.
Oh, it's the leaf blower.
Yeah, the leaf blower.
Well,
that's fine. We could do it.
Okay, yeah. We'll find out later.
Things to do next LuchaWorld Podcast. Things not to do next LuchaWorld Podcast.
Do not do it on a Saturday afternoon. Not at all. Well, you know, if we're having a noise butchering the show in the background, why don't we just
as bad as Talk Show. Our Blog Talk Radio. I mean, come on.
You still hear us clearer.
Yeah.
And speaking of things that are butchered, we might as well talk about that Sting and Macias match. So if you hear a butchering sound in the background, it's appropriate. Sting and Macias.
Hopefully it starts while the...
Yeah, and drowns us out.
Drowns it out so nobody hears what I said.
You saw clips of Sting's versus Macias.
It wasn't that good, you know. Sting can't do a lot now, so it basically was just a draw.
Yes.
Everybody runs in, and that's basically the whole match. And they team up. I guess they want to get Sting to team up with Macias again in Mexico.
From what I read, I heard the crowd was not that into it.
The show, I mean, it just seemed like your typical AAA show. And, you know, it didn't even feel that way because it had TNA.
Yeah. The
opening match was a glow-in-the-dark match. Which, I mean, I still don't get how people... they're like, I know LuchaWorld is doing a glow in the dark match too, which I'm sure is great for them, and it's probably a great a live event thing. But on TV, it's such a shitty thing to do. I mean,
there are a lot of things that work for a live audience that don't work on TV.
You know what would be cool though, Volador Jr. like wrestling in a glow in the dark outfit, because he has glow in the dark outfits.
That wouldn't be too shabby.
He has a Tron outfit.
That's cool.
So that would actually be pretty cool. But I mean, it wasn't that good of a show. I mean, it wasn't as good as, I mean, I don't know, AAA's, the show before that wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Well, and I do actually have to search for some episodes on the internet so I can affirm what my belief is that probably not much has changed there.
No. There was a period of time, like the first part of the year, it was pretty good. Then it kind of just started, as soon as they lost TV here, it kind of seemed like it kind of got a little bad. But it's basically, they go back and forth every couple of shows.
Well, very likely they have that same problem that a lot of promotions do. You have too many cooks spoiling the broth.
Oh, yeah. They have a lot of main event guys, though. Like, compared to CMLL. CMLL has a lot of talent, but, like, their main event guys aren't really, like, established big-time main event guys.
Now,
Whereas AAA is, like, Paraguayo, Dr. Wagner, Macias, La Parca, LA Park.
Well, one of the things I do like about Octagon too?
He's back to... Oh, Octagon. That was the big angle. Octagon and La Parca are now heels.
I heard about La Parca's heel turn. I did not hear about Octagon's
They both
heel
jumped.
turn.
They both attacked Dr. Wagner at the same time.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah. But, I mean, I was watching the show before that, the 10-3 show from Leon. And Octagon cut a promo. And you've heard Octagon talk, right?
Yes.
He doesn't sound like a very interesting guy to hear on. It's like, come on, seriously.
Not a candidate for best on interviews.
Yeah, it's really... That show was actually not that bad.
Now, Octagon must be 50, 51 now?
Probably.
Somewhere around there?
Yeah, he was like...
Was there any clue to how he looks in the ring or anything?
Have you seen him recently?
No.
No? That's one of the matches you skip? Those Octagon matches are skippable?
Yeah, of all the matches they have not showed on Galavision,
those are the ones you missed.
Those are the ones I missed the most.
Well, you know, he's bad. I mean, he's been bad like the last 10 years, so...
Oh, that's a shame.
He hasn't been good in a long time. Yeah, he really has been bad. I can't even remember the point where he got really bad.
Now, do we know how much of that are accumulated injuries or accumulation of substance abuse?
Probably a little of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, CMLL, like I've said before, despite some stupid booking, which is the only way I can put it, I'm just enjoying the wrestlers. And something you're saying, a lot of the established stars are in AAA, but I actually do think one of the things that CMLL is doing well is I think they're building up some, the
new guys,
stars.
They're giving more. Well, they have so much TV that they give more guys more opportunities.
Yes.
Whereas in the past, it was always like 1 hour or two. They were limited to what they were going to show. So it was always like the main guys, the main event guys, and you would get clips of everybody else. So now you get everybody, but there's also that negative where the really okay guys, they kind of have too much footage of them.
Gotcha.
Right? So it's like, but it's really,
that's a good point.
But I mean, you rarely get a bad match in CMLL nowadays.
It's very true.
The booking is really bad, and then half the time it's like you want something to come to a conclusion, and it just keeps on going, and it keeps on going, and it never ends. And there's no like finish to anything.
Which I think is a problem a lot of promotions do these days, not just in Mexico. But they seem almost scared to end a program, to end a storyline, to move on.
Look at WWE with like John Cena. He's always he always has to be the main event guy. Like it doesn't matter who it is. He's always the champion or challenger. And
they're scared to plan ahead. It's like they'll make a plan to make a change in storyline or a change to push somebody, elevate another star, and then they panic and say, oh, we can't do it right now. I mean, the recent talk of Bobby Roode...
TNA. Now you're talking about
TNA. Yeah, let's not stray too much. That's the only thing I'll say about TNA.
You can talk about TNA because TNA and AAA are involved.
That's true. That's true. But I don't want to talk too much. But just how they plan to have him get the belt. They did video packages before he got the belt from Kurt Angle, and then they decide, oh no, we can't do it tonight.
They're trying to fool the fans. They're bigger marks to what they're doing than the fans are.
marks for themselves.
Yeah, so instead of like doing something that makes sense, I mean, who does a title change? Instead of not doing it on pay-per-view, they do it on free TV. So basically, you're telling your people, don't bother buying the pay-per-view.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The good stuff is going to be on free TV, so don't...
Of course we didn't watch it.
Of course not. Of course not. But CMLL, yeah, even if their booking was even decent, they would be like the best promotion around right now.
Well, they have so much talent right now.
They do. Well, like I said earlier, Sombra is the guy I'm really high on right now. And I really dig the old school simple gimmicks like La Mascara, La Sombra. I mean, they're simple names that you think would have been used in the 50s. Delta. Will Delta ever have a partner, a valet?
I think that'd be awesome. You know what's coming is going to be sponsored by the Delta Airline.
I love that idea. And he'll team with Metro.
Yeah, Metro. Well, Metro's already a sponsor.
I know. That's why it would be so perfect, you know. And then if they could just get Gato Everready in the...
Well, he can't.
They'd have a whole... I know.
That's a AAA.
I know.
And he's Drago now, so...
I can dream. Dragon?
Drago.
From Gato Everready to Dragon. Oh.
Drago.
Drago?
Drago.
Oh, please.
It's awesome, though. The look is awesome. Though.
Yeah, but Gato Everready is the coolest.
We did get a cool photo of it, a cool drawing out of it.
Okay, I'll give them that.
I did get a good drawing.
But no, I really, I dig Sombra, like I said at the beginning of the show. I love how he has both a finishing move for a flyer and a finishing move for a technical wrestler. He does that beautiful moonsault where he lands on his feet and then immediately does a backflip onto his opponent. Yeah. And then he does... Now, you told me the suplex move he does is called Brillante...
Driver.
Brillante Driver. I still say that crotch wrench suplex is way cooler.
We should say everything we said earlier.
Yes. Well, I think that's kind of the aim at this point.
Oh. It's sounding like a Slam and Stand podcast.
Well, so anyways, so as I said, Sombra's my guy. Your favorite right now is...
Sting. My favorite wrestler is still Sting.
Oh, dear.
He still is my favorite. My favorite is Sting and Strongman.
What? Now, Strongman, we both agree on.
No, I hate Strongman.
No, you love Strongman. Well, you put it very aptly when you said, as long as he doesn't stick around CMLL for any long given periods.
I thought we were going to bring this up. It was in the race portion.
It's excellent material.
You already threatened that I was going to get carried around by Strongman at Wrestle.
That's right. What we talked about on the recording that got botched, we were talking about how awesome John Strongman is. But how he is like the Andre the Giant or the Haystack Calhoun of the 21st century. The only difference is nature didn't do this to him, did not make him a giant or make him a little heavyset. No, this is something he did by his own device. He is a freak of nature. Not a freak of nature, what did I just say? A freak of his own device. And he's great to come into town and just... I love the way he just chops somebody a couple of times and then roars like a lion.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's kind of a little difficult for him to get around sometimes, but he is so awesome.
I mean, he tries. He does planchas sometimes. So I mean, he does try. But I think it's really good that they have that relationship with New Japan, so he could go to New Japan for a while. People in CMLL don't have to see him all the time.
Exactly. When he leaves, it's just about the time when people
unless you're like a really, really diehard wrestling fan, and you're gonna watch everything, and then you're gonna guess, oh, he's in New Japan now.
But no, I think that's the perfect way to book him. Is you keep him for a while, then say, hey, your act's starting to get a little stale. Come back later this next year, just when people start to miss you a bit. People like me, like Vandal Drummond. What else? What else is
about the WWE tryouts?
WWE tryouts in Mexico, and of course we're keeping mum on the names who tried out.
No, I know everybody. I can name everybody now.
Behave yourself, Fredo. Behave yourself.
There were a total of 27,000 luchadors in line.
Now, the reason that people aren't letting the names get out.
Well, the gimmick names are like everybody. Like I think everybody already knows.
Oh, do they really?
Yes.
I was not aware of
You
that.
didn't know that? I think I told you.
Well, I heard a lot of people know it, but they're not really making it public because
they've made it public.
Have they?
Yeah. There's a bunch of guys. There's a bunch of independent guys and a bunch of CMLL guys.
Now, I guess the big
The
fear.
CMLL guys were.
Well, but that was the big fear: is the CMLL guys were threatened by CMLL with losing their gigs.
No, that's just an assumption.
Okay.
That was from the last time. This time they didn't really say anything. That's just people reminding everybody about the story and not realizing that it hasn't been brought up because they're still wrestling. I mean, they're still going to do stuff. You know how wrestling is like. If you're a popular guy, they're not going to do anything to you. But if you're a young guy who tried out, you might get screwed out.
Yeah.
You might get chewed out by your boss or something, or you don't get booked. More or less, they're just not going to book you.
Yeah, you will be the one in WWE who will get busted for using human growth hormone and steroids, but not the top stars.
Yeah.
No way, Daddy-O.
WWE does it too, so it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the CMLL guys were basically your same Averno, La Sombra, Volador Jr., Magnus were the names that were mentioned. I think there was another guy. Hijo de Fantasma. The same guys. It's basically the same guy, except Magnus. Magnus, most people probably know that he's related to Mystico, Sin Cara. So he pretty much got it. He got the tryout through that, more or less.
Is there any...
And Durango Kid was there. You saw him on Raw, right?
I did not
Oh
watch
my
Raw.
god, I was going to be like, hey, that guy saved Kurt Brown one time.
That's right.
That's where people don't know. That's where people aren't talking about. When I told you that people aren't talking about stuff, they're not telling you who those guys with Durango Kid are. The security guards, because those guys were wrestlers too.
Oh.
But I can't name who they were.
And those wrestlers were the ones who could be jeopardizing their jobs.
Yeah, but those guys aren't really that worried about it. I think they're looking to leave at some point anyways. But and then the independent guys were Bestia, 666, Hijo de Ale Park, Zumbi, Heidi Caribou or something like that. Heidi Caribou.
Cruella de Vil.
Heidi Caribou. It's a French guy. Heidi Caribou, I think. Heidi Caribou.
Is there any word...
Caruru?
Caruso? I remember Caruso. Yeah.
Remember Dave Caruso? Or was it?
Yes.
Isn't that guy from...
David Caruso from NYPD Blue, who is the king of whatever happened to.
Well, he's in CSI Miami now, isn't he?
He's still old news.
But I mean, wasn't there a famous jobber named Dave Caruso?
No, I remember there being a Japanese wrestler, Caruso, who used to work for FMW and used to...
Yeah, Caruso. Masanobu Caruso?
Used to injure the rookies.
Yeah, Masanobu Caruso.
Real dick.
Yeah. I think I remember that guy. He was like a bald guy?
Yeah, he'd kick the guys full force in the head.
You know how I learned all those names? Watching New Japan Classics over and over and over because they air the same freaking match all the time. And everybody online puts question marks in those names. So I feel compelled to learn everybody's name. So now it's like Masanobu Caruso is like one of those names that I know.
No, that's awesome that you do that. Because that way we're not pulling a Gordon Soley who was masterful in many ways, but kept calling every Japanese wrestler Tatsumi Fujinami.
You know the funny thing about the tryouts, Zumbi, he went on his own to that.
Really?
Yes, he's like a Brazilian wrestler, a masked guy. I think he's still green though. He's not.
When you say Brazilian wrestler,
he's a Brazilian guy who's wrestling in.
Okay.
I don't know what exactly. I think his roots are Brazilian.
Is there any word on WWE's...
Wait, hold on. Hijo de Dr. Wagner was also at the tryouts.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Is there any word on... Is WWE just wanting one or two token luchadores?
Well, see, here's the thing. Like, people... Because they said, one blog said that the majority of the guys said they were good, they were okay with. But just because they said that doesn't mean they're going to bring everybody in.
Yes.
So I assume, like, the most obvious thing is, like, just watching the show. You have to speak English, basically. I mean, that's what's going to keep that Unico guy on the show. He's still on there.
Yes.
So I think Hijo de Fantasma is probably the one that has the biggest chance of... He's been the one that everybody's been saying is going to make it at some point.
And he was the one that, I think it was you who were telling me, of the guys in CMLL, he's the one who's been somewhat held back.
He's bilingual. Yeah, and he's the one that actually has been held back. There's been a couple guys, like the really young guys, and him. But I think him, it's more like they already know he's going to leave, or he's looking to leave.
So they're not investing.
Yeah, so they're not investing any time in him. Whereas Sombra and Volador, guys like that, I mean, those guys are just like already headline guys. They have their time spent in CMLL. I hope they don't all leave. I mean, I think it's kind of one of those things where you kind of hope they do because you want them to make more money.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, you kind of don't want them to leave because you know WWE just kills. I mean, how many guys have they gone through where they just don't even wrestle or anything?
Well, they are the exact opposite of what Vince McMahon Sr. did, where Vince McMahon Sr., he made his plans a year ahead of time.
Yeah.
There's the famous story when Superstar Graham was WWF champion.
I think you added an extra W.
I did.
You added a fourth W.
I am trying to be historically correct.
No, I think you're going even further.
Oh, okay.
You added a fourth one.
Okay, then I'm just going to say WWF.
Okay, what were you saying?
When Superstar Graham won the title, Vince Sr. already had the date nearly ahead of time.
Of who was going to be the next.
Of who's going to be. He knew it was going to be Backlund, and he knew it was.
What was the fascination behind Backlund? Just because he was an amateur wrestler?
Yeah, Boy Next Door. Well, that's the kind of thing I sold back then.
Yeah.
And it worked. I mean, a lot of people. I remember smart fans back then, I don't know how many would admit it today, they hated Backlund. Smart fans could not stand him, but he drew, and the masses loved him.
Yeah.
But Vince Sr., planned things far ahead of time, and he stuck with the plans. A lot of people criticize him for not keeping the belt on Superstar Graham longer, but obviously the change to Backlund didn't hurt him at all. And it's just the opposite, where, WWE, TNA, they make these plans and then they just scrap them. It's like they panic every week.
Well, the Sin Cara mask match. I mean,
yes.
They just went through that like in 2 weeks.
That's something
less than 2 weeks. Actually, just the 1 week that they because I don't think they mentioned it on any other show until they mentioned it like on Raw or something.
In fact, yeah, even though that's almost old news now, that's something we really should talk about, because that just watching SmackDown, there was this feeling of frustration in me, even though I should know better. There was a good match and was getting good crowd heat. I mean, the crowd was enjoying it. But it was treated as such a trivial event, even if they had a 3-week build-up.
Especially in Mexico, because everybody knew that story about Incognito, Único.
Exactly.
Was Mystico before that. I mean, they could have done a lot to build that just in Mexico.
Yeah, and there was not even a hint. There was not even a hint of that mask versus mask aura. I mean, that whole atmosphere of a mask versus mask match, even if it's between two wrestlers who aren't that hot, people dig it.
Yeah.
And you can tell that while the people were enjoying it, that they just showed up to see WWE. They were not anticipating Mascara contra Mascara. Can you imagine how heated it would have been if they even gave it a smidgen of a build-up?
But it's WWE. They don't really care about that sort of thing. It's like they don't. That's why SmackDown kind of is so behind Raw. They make it look like Bush League, like the second. It's not even like they're like before. Remember, they used to run two different touring groups, and you always knew that the other one was pretty good, also, because they had like the other guy, like Randy Savage would be the headliner on one side, Hulk Hogan on the other side, the other touring group. And nowadays, like SmackDown, nobody really wants to go see SmackDown. Like we'll just wait for. And
it's like if you were a track star, and said, "Hey, look how beautiful my right foot is," and then you take a sledgehammer and pound your left foot into oblivion.
Yeah,
but my left foot sucks.
Yeah, it's like it's just one of those things where it's like, for some reason, they're just not really. Yeah. They don't care about it as much as they used to.
Yeah, it's true.
We could complain about this further.
I know, and I actually feel silly for even bringing it up, but I just had to, because you can't, even though I should know better, WWE is just going to do this, and usually they're scrapped plans, and
but it seems more now. Like before, it wasn't. Like I remember, like I've never been a big WWE. Like I talked to about how everybody here in LA is more of a WWE fan.
Yes,
didn't grow up with Mid-South, World Class, a lot of that other stuff, and like how I grew up with all that stuff. And it's like WWF, even back then, wasn't as like, nowadays it's like, everything's just like, yeah, let's just do it. Let's scrap it, or let's not do it. Or
Yeah, it's panic button booking. You know, they have some reason that is probably totally illogical of why they can't give so-and-so a push this week, why they have to pull the plug on somebody else's push. It's very silly, but it's just the way it is.
Did you hear Rob Naylor got a job out of it?
What?
His I think he already was gonna get a job with WWE.
No, tell me about this.
He's already been called up to FCW to announce. He used to announce for Dragon Gate and all these other indie shows. So the CM Punk reference wasn't just out of...
He's a smart man.
That was pretty cool. I mean, that's great.
No, that's awesome.
Really nice guy, too. So
that's cool.
He's going to be missed. He's going to be missed from the podcast world, though. I think there, between you and Dylan, there's enough energy out there. You and Dylan have to carry the energetic...
he is the man, Dylan. Totally.
Crazy podcasting guys.
I have to say...
Have you ever heard Rob Naylor's on a podcast?
No, I'm guilty.
No.
I'm guilty, I haven't. I've heard everybody rave about it.
Yeah.
And I heard nothing but great things about that guy.
Like, you could tell him, have you ever seen I think you would have he would have been amazed at some of the stuff you would talk about. Just because he's really excited about everything.
Oh, that's so cool.
He could do a podcast about Samoans and be excited about it.
Okay, power to him. Power to him. That is great. Well, I tell you what, we're just going to take a quick break, and the reason we're taking this quick break is because we have the ability to. So we will be back in just a moment.
Just don't ask me about the reality TV show.
Fredo just asked that we don't ask him about the reality TV show. So you know what that means, ladies and gentlemen? He just asked me that unaware that we were already recording.
I did it on purpose.
Yeah, that's good, Fredo. Right. I believe you. I swear. I believe you.
Because I haven't watched it. Everybody else has watched it. I watched the AAA show.
Okay, then what I will bring up is what
did you want to know about it? Did you want to know something about it? Was that what you wanted?
Just the whole concept of it. Okay, then.
Oh, wow. What it is basically they're following 4 wrestlers. Magnus, Shocker, Rey Bucanero, Villano. And I think they're just, like, recording what they do. I don't know. I think there's something behind it. I'm not really sure. But there's, like...
Well, those 4 wrestlers actually sound like great potential for reality shows.
I know a Cubs fan wrote a really long recap of it. But it's like, I really haven't had time to watch it.
Okay, well, that's something we'll have to touch base on in the future, because that especially those 4 wrestlers.
I'm really burned out on reality television now, so now I'm watching more, dramas and stuff.
But we are talking Villano.
Yeah.
I mean, I think...
But, the one thing I do know is that they have fake Twitter accounts for each of those guys. So they have a Villano account, they have a Rey Bucanero account. I don't know if they have Magnus. I think Magnus is keeping his own. And they have a Shocker account. And Shocker has his own account to go with it. And
Shocker, how can a reality series go bad with Shocker involved?
Yeah.
Shocker is the only wrestler who...
It's on YouTube if you want to watch it.
Okay, Shocker is the only wrestler who I really don't have that much desire to see wrestle, but I love seeing him in every other...
I gotta say, he was really good, like, up until, 2004. He can still go, every once in a while.
But he is so good in non-wrestling roles. During the tournament,
or the strongman introduction.
Yes.
What was this thing?
Where he does a pitch in Spanish and then he goes, "Take it away, John."
Take it away, John.
And his role as the second for the rookie wrestlers in the tournament, he is
He was in a suit with a lollipop.
Yes!
And a clipboard. That was so awesome.
He doesn't even have to speak. That guy has so much charisma just standing at ringside. He could steal the show.
One of the good things CMLL did this year.
I agree.
Thing.
I agree. Yeah, you know what? I shouldn't just totally trash their booking. They've done some really stupid booking, but they've actually done 2 really cool tournaments that were fun to watch. They've done the Lightning matches.
Yeah.
The 10-minute time limit matches. And though... The singles matches, 10-minute time limit, and they get over with the audience.
Yeah, and it depends on the guys, too. Some of them have been really good. Mm-hmm. Actually, most of them have been really good. But usually you don't expect it. Like, some promotions can actually, fuck that up. I mean...
It's true. Well, and
TNA can have a 2-minute match and somehow screw up a 2-minute match.
And to book a tournament that gets over, there's a lot of things I love about Lucha Libre. Lots of things. But almost every tournament I've seen sucks. They do tournaments terribly. Traditionally, too. I mean, I remember when we used to go to Tijuana on a Friday night, we'd never, look beforehand what the card was. We'd say, hey, let's just go to Lucha in Tijuana, and we'd be crestfallen every time we saw it was like a tournament. Oh, but CMLL booked not one, but two good tournaments this year. And, the Lightning matches are really cool. Their terrible booking is really terrible. This year's anniversary show, it's like they were trying to see
purposely.
Who... Yeah.
How rock bottom they could go.
Yeah.
That might have been what they were trying to do. They wanted to see just what would happen if they actually booked the absolute worst anniversary match.
Yes.
Just to see how rock bottom. And maybe now they know, hey, we got like whatever amount of people now.
Yeah, and I could picture like, Panico betting somebody money. I can book a worse show than you can. Although I guess, is he still...
Yeah, he's still...
He's still in the booker seat.
Him and Jose Luis Feliciano.
Mm-hmm.
Who just sounds like that sounds like a cool name, like Jose Luis Feliciano.
It's a cool name. Well, I remember seeing him in the Lucha Libre mags in the 70s and tripping out because that was the...
He part-time sings, did you know that? Part-time singer.
That's just what I was going to say. When I was a kid, I would say, like, hey, he has the same name as that folk singer,
the
folk
singer.
The guy who did that cover of Come On Baby, Light My Fire. Oh, classic Lucha. I love it. And I love that there was a luchador in the 70s named Franco Colombo.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was really cool. So while I've spent so much time trashing CMLL booking, I want to say they have done some pretty cool things at the same time.
Yeah. Now on to the indie news.
The indie news. What is the biggest?
Actually, we're going to talk about Marcella winning. Actually, we don't have to.
No. Let's touch on Marcella.
She finally beat Emma Pola.
After 20-something matches.
After 30,000 singles. That's basically been their big singles match.
Mm-hmm.
Between the women. Usually them, and Lady Apache is usually involved.
Yes.
When she's not pregnant. Which is not often. She's a good-looking woman. I mean,
she's beautiful.
You can't really blame the guys she's with. She's still with Electroshock?
I have no idea. She's married. She's probably married more wrestlers than any other woman in the business.
More ugly man than any other woman in the world, I think.
Oh, wow.
Gran Apache.
Brasso.
De Oro.
Yes.
I mean, seriously, where does she could do better. She's like, oh, you know what I was going to tell you? I was reading the Lucha blog, and he was Cubs fan was mentioning Ross Delona, their 30-minute show.
Yes.
And Mima Shimoda, I don't know if you knew this, but every single show she gets asked if she's still looking for a boyfriend, a Mexican boyfriend, and she said yes. And she's like, and she told them to email the company, the whatever email they use for that show. And she then tells there's two Japanese women coming in also, Ray and Ayumi. She tells them they should join in also. I was gonna write on one blog, hey, who wants a triple date? But then I thought, no, I better not do that. Because people take me too seriously sometimes.
That's funny. That's cool.
The Mexicans take me a little too seriously.
Never take yourself too seriously. That's my rule.
You gotta take everything, take a little bit of joke.
Exactly.
Well, anyways, Marcella finally beat her after like 30,000 attempts. I think it was this past Friday, I think it might have been.
Any word how it got over once she won?
Well, they're really good matches. They're really good. So it's not...
I mean, the build-up of the story.
The build-up. I mean, the build-up's been going for 2 years.
But did it pay off? Like, when she finally went over, did the fans pop?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Okay.
But, I mean, I would imagine they did. Because, I mean, that's basically something that's been brought up how many times she's not beaten her.
Now, speaking... we spoke about Lady Apache...
All the ugly.
Well, no, I'm thinking of all the women that I always thought were really attractive. I thought about...
let's do a top 10 best-looking women.
But I always dug...
Let's perv out. Let's just skip.
Yeah, let's perv out. Let's totally perv out. No, the one that I always dug was Serenita.
Yeah.
Is she still around in any shape?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
She might be. Actually, she might be. She might be under a mask or something.
I just dug her strong legs. Oh, man.
Oh, God.
Oh, man.
This is getting creepy.
It is, but I have no shame in saying that.
Kurt, this is getting creepy.
Oh,
I knew I shouldn't have mentioned this.
Hey, when she was a star, that was when I was at Gil's gym all the time working out, and all the other guys said, she looks so strong. And they all said it with the same perverted pleasure I did.
Remember, this is Kurt Brown. This is Kurt Brown.
This is Vandal Drummond. Vandal Drummond is a total perv. Kurt Brown is a gentleman. Yes.
Vandal Drummond is the perv.
Yes. Vandal Drummond is a perv.
I'll look her.
And he's a cult leader, too, as Dan Farron has dubbed me. I am from Laguna Beach. I am Dr. Vandal Drummond.
We should mention we did see a good match a couple of weeks ago. At that,
At the New Hall American Legion. That was a cute little place to run a show.
I haven't really even bothered posting it online or anything.
Are we talking about the Famous B match?
Yeah, the Famous B-boy match. I mean, when you have little kids... What did you ask me about again? The girl?
Serenita?
Okay, keep going.
Okay, Fredo's looking it up while we're talking. Famous B, I think, is one of my favorite of the local boys these days.
And he works lucha, too, so...
That's very cool. And he seems like a guy who can do some beautiful moves, but he's not just trying to give you a spot fest. He's somebody who gives a good quality match. Doesn't feel like he has to break the record of suicide dives, as is often the case in many indie wrestling shows these days. Seems like a pretty down-to-earth guy, and I think Fredo has pulled up a picture of Serenita. Oh, I adored her. She was awesome.
The blonde.
Yeah. Oh, well, I can always wish for a comeback.
Yeah.
Nah.
This got really disturbing.
I want to wish her. I want to wish her a good life. So don't make her come back.
Wish her a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, wish her a Merry Christmas.
Getting back to Jose Luis Felicia.
That's right. Don't get back in the business, Serenita. You're probably happier out of it.
She's probably really old now.
Not that old.
Yeah, 76 was her debut. She's got to be like 50.
Yeah.
Those old timers, 50-year-old man. Jeez.
Yeah. Cougars. God bless them. They rock. They rock. Okay, so now we're gonna...
well, that match was really good. Famous B versus B-Boy.
Yes.
Really good match. I liked it.
Now, I dig Famous B because he does some beautiful moves, but it's not like he's just giving you a high spot fest.
They could have tanked it, too. I mean, it was an empty show. There was only like 20, 30
This
people.
was a tiny American Legion stadium. It was actually a...
Stadium?
Stadium is a good way to put it. A hall.
A post.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, come on.
No, but it's a cute little place with some fun atmosphere. Yeah, it's an American Legion hall that at the most sits like, I don't know, at the most not even 100 people.
Probably.
At the most 100.
At the most.
But cute. They have photos of every president of that little hall in New Hall, California, a little town. They have photos of every president from 1934. And actually a nice bunch of people who hang out at the hall there. Very nice folks. And I don't think you can turn much of a dollar promoting a wrestling show there. Yeah. But for people like us who are not putting any money into the show, it's a fun place to
say that. Oh, you mean as a promoter? Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say as a promoter.
Yeah. No, don't mention anything about going in for free.
No, it's a great place to see a wrestling show. I would advise.
I should beep free out, like in every show. Free beep. Free on YouTube.
There you go. You can play with the editing skills.
And the funny thing was, like, while we were watching the match, there was a little baby in the ringside, and the little baby the entire match actually watched it. You didn't catch the baby?
No, I didn't. I remember the baby
looking at that one chick in the
the girl who takes the ring jackets.
Yeah, the ring jacket.
She was actually quite over with the crowd. Yeah. Yes. No, Famous B, I would say, is one of my favorite indie guys in Southern California right now.
Yeah. Talking about indie shows, Lucha Libre USA Mass Wars just got canceled by MTV again.
Oh dear, this is probably for good.
What was your favorite moment of Lucha Libre USA Mass Warriors?
The one I saw, which was none of them.
You didn't watch it.
I apologize to the good folks there, because I should have given it a shot.
It was at 7 in the morning, I mean. Just remembering to TiVo it.
Now, and also let me ask, was it on MTV or like MTV?
MTV2.
See, I don't get MTV2.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you probably do.
I don't think I do.
Everybody gets MTV2.
Really?
I think so.
Dear. Okay, guilty.
Are you sure you don't? You have basic package? The basic cable package? Oh, okay, maybe you don't. I'm sorry I was mean to you.
I was innocent this time.
My apologies. Well, first of all, I was on at 7.
Mm-hmm.
Second, I think they took way too much time off to bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
So it really was... It wasn't gonna...
And TV, more than ever, seems like a complicated thing, one, to acquire and to keep. Because as we've talked with the guys who are doing the NWA TV on KDOC in Southern California, it took them a long time to get that deal. And
did? I never talked to them.
Yes, I did.
You did? Who did you talk to?
To a David What's-His-Face.
Oh, God. That's wonderful.
Yeah, David Marquez. David.
At least he's not listening to this
David
podcast.
Marquez, and he probably is listening.
Apologies.
He would never listen, but since I called him David What's-His-Face.
Yeah,
No, seriously. I mean, it's hard to get a TV deal.
Yeah.
And then it's hard to keep it.
When did you talk to him?
Well, this is when they first acquired the deal.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, they
try. Basically, I think people should know that I try not to talk to anybody in wrestling.
You're probably wise.
People talk to me, but I try not to like...
But they worked hard to get that deal, and, then just keeping your time slot, and this isn't even a really strong station, and the same thing with MTV. I mean, I don't think you're going to get many shows that are going to...
See, but the LA TV, I mean, the NWA show at least is on at certain times.
Yes. And
then they have it online. They actually go out of the way to post it. Mm-hmm. And there was a period where MTV wasn't even posting, like, the video on time online, even on YouTube or anything. So, I mean, it kind of made it hard for everybody else to watch it.
Well, it's hard to be visible in this day and age on that kind of a level. Yeah. And power to them, NWA TV getting on TV, and it's been on for a good year at least now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean...
Should I ask you what your favorite moments were? No?
No, you shouldn't, because I haven't watched too much of it. Yeah. I'll be the first to confess. And no, this is not...
Letters can be sent to Liger at
AOL.com. Yes. No, this is not a knock on the show. It's just getting any kind of TV and trying to maintain it is work.
Yeah. Unless you're CMLL and can get like every single channel.
Yeah. That's a whole nother story if you're a top dog like that. But if you're like...
I think with CMLL, what it is CMLL fits what everybody thinks Lucha Libre is. Mm-hmm. So that's what they want.
Yes.
And it's hard. The problem is it's hard to get to... people outside of Mexico want to get their show on their channels. But it's hard if you can't go there directly and deal with them. So they'll start asking other... Because I know, because I get email from TV networks for that stuff. And it's like, I can't get a hold of them. I mean, the closest you could get a hold of them is maybe emailing their webmaster. Mm-hmm. And he might send you a reply back.
Right.
Might. And that's basically it. But you're not gonna you're not gonna get Paco Alonso directly. I mean, he's not on YouTube. He's not on Twitter and Facebook. Not that I know of.
Yeah, but I mean, in CMLL, if they lost every other TV outlet, they have Galavision right now.
They don't.
What?
They don't have Galavision right now. Pan Am Games.
Oh, I mean on a permanent level. Well, Fredo is totally messing with my head today.
Well, I'm not. Honest.
He's totally messing with my head. You know why do you know what, ladies and gentlemen, why Fredo messes with my head? He does it because it's easy.
Because there's multiple personalities too.
Yep.
You know the Lucha Libre USA Mass Wars thing. I think it could have worked if it would have had the AAA with them. Mm-hmm. The backing of AAA, but when that fell apart, I think that kind of...
What was your impression of the shows?
They were actually not that bad. Mm-hmm. They weren't that bad. I think the problem is that there's only a limited amount of guys that you could get.
Yes.
If you're not going to get Santo or Paraguayo or guys like that, there's a limited amount of guys, especially if you're not like somebody who's really good at... You have to have a scout. Somebody who can scout talent. Mm-hmm. And I mean, they didn't really do that. I think they got guys from the U.S. And that's the other thing. They got guys who were actually going to show up.
Right.
So even if you can scout talent, you're not going to get those guys automatically. Because then there's all the visa issues and all that stuff. And that I'm guessing most of those guys had visas and all that stuff already.
Now, say you were somebody who had a mild interest in wrestling, Lucha Libre, and you turned on the show, do you think it's the type of show that would have held your interest?
I didn't like it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it because it's wrestling, but it wasn't Lucha Libre.
Right. Gotcha.
It came out. It was more AAA Lucha Libre, like that style. It wasn't like, and then like it was really like, I don't know, like some of the stuff I really didn't like. The minis were great. Mm-hmm. That storyline, they had that storyline where Pequeño Halloween drugged Rebecca Reyes. I can't remember what her name was.
No, I did not hear of this.
Yeah, and
that's clever.
You didn't hear it.
No, I did
you're
not.
You're not reading LuchaWorld. And he drugs her and marries her.
Kind of like Triple H and Stephanie.
Yes, he marries her, and then when she wakes up and she's got the pumpkin face.
Now that rules. Oh my God, that rules.
And he's very abusive. He wants her to stay at home, cook and clean.
Cook pumpkin soup.
Yeah, and clean. That was all he wanted.
Wow.
So that was actually a really good. That was a good storyline. The minis were really good. They actually have really good wrestlers. There was actually, Tinieblas Jr., Hijo de Lismark.
Right.
They're not going to draw a lot of people.
No.
You know the guy that they really, when they lost, T.J. Perkins, they lost that.
Who is an excellent wrestler.
And he was Sadistico, where that was really his best character.
Was it really?
That was his best character. And we actually, that year we saw him do three gimmicks.
Yeah, remember that?
We saw him do 3 gimmicks, and he was really good at that one.
He's an amazing performer, really. He's one guy I could see going places.
He's in Ring of Honor now. He signed with Ring of Honor.
He did sign with Ring of Honor? Yeah. Well, I hope they give him a push because he is good.
I don't know what that means. How much they pay him.
Well, and the other thing is...
I always crack up because people say, I have a Ring of Honor contract, and then you find out guys can make more money just being independents. Mm-hmm. It's actually the same. It's like, well, great.
And when you get signed with Ring of Honor, is it like being signed with WWE where they don't use you, or they definitely
use you, but I mean, because they're not going to sign a bunch of guys.
Right.
But I mean, they also won't let you work. There's certain indies, you can't work for iPay-per-views. Mm-hmm. You can't work for people who have commercial DVDs or TV. Mm-hmm. So basically you have to only work indie shows. And I mean, if you can't really use that guy for that stuff, what's the point of using him?
Right.
I mean, because those guys can't draw more people into your show. Mm-hmm. We've already seen that.
Well, and I'm with you on your comment about when you see something billed as Lucha Libre and you're, you don't have the whole aura of Lucha Libre.
Well, see, it's like what Kevin Kleinrock said. It's Gringo Lucha Libre.
Yeah, and
it's more of a hybrid.
And that, I'm not into the hybrid really, but then again, that's me.
But I think that's really all they could do. I mean, they're not going to come. Most people don't have a history of what Lucha Libre was. People don't know that you could do a trio of Los Infernales. Because that would have been more over an old school looking guy. You don't really need a mask, just some dude with a comb over. You know what I'm talking about? That's what Lucha was. Mexicans have really weird hair and stuff, greasy hair and stuff.
Well, in fact,
I'm being racist now. I could do that. I'm Mexican.
Yeah, so I'll do all the
gringos.
I'll do all the gringo stereotypes, the 70s porn mustaches, the 80s mullets.
See, that would have been great. Guys like that. See, Joey Ryan does a gimmick like that. He's done that.
Yes. Well, yeah. And again, that's how my gimmick, Lucky Pierre, was born, is because I was booked to be a luchador on a gringo show.
Yeah.
Because he said we wanted one Lucha Libre mask, as the promoter put it. And so I brought Frankie D along, and we were going to do a lucha-style mask. And as we're getting ready, the promoter was saying, wait a minute, you guys aren't wearing masks. And we're saying, yeah, we do lucha style. And he goes, well, but lucha libre style means masks.
And most of the guys back then didn't really have
No.
Rey Mendoza, Corey Guerrero.
Oh, yeah. The
Carbonario Galindo.
Yeah, some of the most classic luchadores did not wear masks. And so, basically...
Black Shadow wrestled a lot.
Yes.
Without masks.
And...
Let's just name names.
Let's name names. Rene Guajardo, Carla Flagarde.
Did I ever play you that Howard Stern clip? Where,
first let me finish my story.
Yeah.
So, I basically grabbed one of my masks from my bag that I use for the Incredibly Strange Wrestling shows, and I think it was Dan Farron, Larry Doyle, and Danny Wolf all said, call yourself Lucky Pierre. And it was just...
So you didn't come up with the name? It wasn't...
Well, I thought of the name Lucky Pierre, but
You were thinking of it the wrong way.
Well, the way... No, I didn't know what Lucky Pierre meant back then.
Yeah.
We used to, from Something Weird Video, the video company, we had a video of trailers for these really just terrible old movies, and there's a movie called The Adventures of Lucky Pierre, and so we did it just as a joke, and it stuck.
So you all got everybody who suggested it was based off that movie. Nobody had that dirty mind.
No, the dirty mind of being the man in the middle of a bisexual sandwich was not the idea. We didn't even know what meant that at the time.
Because I didn't know that till I looked it up, and I was like, holy crap. Because you didn't tell me. I figured. And
then Frankie D, we took the mask for the character called Yom Ripper, the Hasidic assassin, and we called him the Tel Aviv Terror. But it was all just to appease this guy who thought Lucha Libre it didn't matter what the wrestling style was, you just put a mask on your head.
You probably needed, like, facial hair or
something like that. Yeah. And then, okay, so you were talking about Howard Stern?
Oh, well, he does, there's this, you know those guys that call in, crank calls?
Yes.
Crank calls, Richard and, I can remember, Sal. Richard and Sal. They crank call wrestling podcasts.
No way.
Wrestling internet radio shows, apparently, and it's basically like the podcast. And there's this one guy talking about WrestleMania, and when Richard calls in, and he's like, "Yeah, it's not like it used to be," and he just starts naming like the Bushwhackers, Haas Funk, Terry Funk, Dory Funk.
It just doesn't stop.
Funk. It's just naming all these guys. I'll play it for you before you leave. And, I'll put it on the podcast at the end.
Oh, that'll be great.
And it's just this funny like thing. They get really graphic at the end, but it's really funny at the very beginning. And I thought we should just do that about Lucha. Like, just do a show where, like, let's talk about
Carla Flaguarde, Valente Fernandez, Santo, Blue Demon, El Santo y Cavernario, Blue Demon, Yell Bulldog.
What else? Oh, we gotta talk about the IWL show that we had. They ran a tour with Davey Richards, Necro Butcher. I think that was pretty. They drew like 800 fans in total to like 5 shows.
And how many wrestlers did they use?
Well, that wasn't it. That wasn't it yet. Mm-hmm. The very last, like I think the show from like last week, they had like a show where it was main evented by the Doink and no, actually it was the Force. This like Giant Warrior, those type of guys.
Mm-hmm, yes.
Madman Pondo, those guys, and they had 61 wrestlers.
Wow.
On the card. 13 matches, 61 wrestlers. 5 more wrestlers did run-ins. A total of 66 wrestlers.
I would love to see the pay sheet on that.
Yeah.
Oh, how much money... I get scared when I think of how much money people put into wrestling shows.
Well, that's the only thing they probably... I mean, I assume they definitely paid the Americans, I'm assuming. Because those guys have been going a lot.
Yeah. You know, back in the day, like, meaning the 90s, I had a number of friends who took baths on promoting wrestling shows. Yeah. But it is nothing compared to the baths promoters take now when they... I mean, I'm not going to name any names, but I hear of people just putting just obscene amounts into money. And when you look at the lineup of the show, you look at the size of the building, how many people it could draw, if it draws.
Yeah.
I would like to just get inside their mind just for a few minutes to see what are they thinking. They're getting ahead of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's not... And there's not a lot of money you can make nowadays with the other stuff that you could do. And they're not even doing like stuff like DVDs and stuff like that. And DVDs is like a dead business. It's kind of a slowly dying business.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't even that big with independent wrestling.
Well, exactly. And even if you're trying to make money on DVDs, people can just stream them or copy them or it... I mean, you have to
those
figure...
pirates. I mean, I can't believe all those piracy online.
I know, that's obscene. It's wrong. It's just wrong, ladies and gentlemen.
Very wrong. Do not post stuff online for free.
We oppose it.
We oppose it.
When I mean, you could do a wrestling show. You don't have to have dozens of wrestlers on a wrestling show. I know people think you have to do that.
Well, see, the thing is, like, they had 61 wrestlers, and I think I could have written, like, you could have split that into just 7 matches. Mm-hmm. And half of those wrestlers, like 24 or 25, and you would have had a good show.
Yeah.
You had Psycho Circus in the main event.
You don't have to bring out the whole brigades. I really doubt when people who are going to, especially if it's, you know, say it's an indie show in a suburb somewhere, as is often done, I don't think somebody's going to pick up the flyer and saying, Hey, there's only 20 wrestlers on this show. I'm not paying my $6 unless there's 50 wrestlers on this show.
Oh, there was another show, DTU. Mm-hmm. The show I was telling you that has Nicho versus Negro Navarro.
Yes.
That show, at the very beginning, they have Nicho and Negro Navarro do their confrontation, do all this stuff, and then they decide to do a group photo. All these wrestlers come in, and it's like 50 wrestlers in the ring taking a picture.
Wow.
Because they have so many guys booked on a show. I'm guessing some of them just go for the experience. Mm-hmm. But even then, it's...
If I had money to burn, I would promote a show, use only 14 wrestlers,
I think
2 referees. I agree. I think you could too.
The referees, there's another one. Like, referees, have you noticed how many shows we've
Today,
seen?
Referees breed like rabbits.
Shows we've seen where it's like 5 or 6 referees, and it's like, shit, why do you need 5 or 6 referees?
It's like they breed like bunnies.
You just need 1 or 2.
I remember like 20 years ago, sometimes they would look for a referee.
Yeah.
Do we have a referee for the show?
Nowadays, it's like there's so many of them. It's great.
The funniest referee moment I ever saw was when Sergio Garcia Platino was promoting Compton. He would double as the promoter and the referee. And I kid you not, there was a tag match. In the heat of the tag match, as he's refereeing, he noticed somebody walks in the front door without paying. He left the ring, went over to collect the guy's money while the wrestlers are still wrestling. And then he took their money, he got back, and then continued to referee.
That's great. See, that's what you got to do. Hey, if you're going to make money, you got to do more than one job.
Yeah, that would actually make a good angle. Have the referee who's very cheap and has to go collect money from people.
That would work.
But yeah, no, I do think if you just publicize it enough, I think you could draw a crowd with a minimal of wrestlers.
Did your Tiniebla Senior's doing his retirement tour again?
Yes, I did, and I didn't even know he was still getting in there.
Hijo de Santos doing a show also, Todo por Todo. Mm-hmm. They had Mano Negra retire at a CMLL show, and now he's coming back for that show. It's like 1 week later he gets booked. He's actually not... Like, I saw him wrestle like about a year ago or 2 years ago. He actually isn't that bad. He still can go.
That's cool.
He's actually not that bad.
He's not... I can't remember. I read his age somewhere recently. He's not as old as I thought he was.
He's probably like 50.
How funny.
48,
I thought he was...
49.
Wow.
Old timers like those guys in 48, 49.
Yeah, that's old, 49. I turned 50 in March, if you wonder why I roll my eyes like that.
Yeah. I just laugh when we do that. Like, we're just like, we're like that.
Well, I guess the last thing we should touch on is...
oh, yeah, somebody wants to know why Blue Panther and Villano 3 aren't in the Hall of Fame.
And
why do they not get more support?
And you know what? I do not have an answer for that.
Why not? You're a voter.
I am a voter, and I voted for both of them.
I figured since you're a voter, you would know.
Well, you know what? I guess I'm not that shocked.
I'd say it's racism.
That's right. People hate luchadores.
People hate the luchadors.
My biggest frustration of those two is Villano Tercero.
Yeah.
I think that guy is...
Because he headlined a lot more than Blue Panther.
Yes, and I mean, huge draw. And like I said before, back in the 80s, the only wrestler I remember getting such easy reaction from the crowd, that got more reaction than him was Pero Aguayo. Aguayo walked out, it was automatic.
Automatic.
People went nuts. But Villano wasn't far behind, and he was a draw. He was part of the Villanos versus Brazos match, which was one of the biggest mask versus mask matches in history.
Do you think it's going to get to the point where you and Dr. Lucha are going to just have to write every bio about every luchador to get them in? Doesn't it kind of feel like that?
I don't know.
It kind of seems like
that.
Because now even you have like the British announcer, like
Kent Walton. I'm very glad he got in because I voted for him.
I wouldn't have voted.
I
would have voted for all Mexicans.
I vote for mostly Mexicans.
And then the cool thing, I would have emailed Brian Alvarez and told him you're voting for all Mexicans.
That's right, Mr. Alvarez. Alvarez,
and then
you
I
are
would have
voting.
finished with Arriba la Raza.
Well, Kent Walton. The cool thing about non-performers,
yes,
like
I would have
Walton,
voted for him too.
Yes, the cool thing is you can vote for as many non-performers as you want.
And I don't have a vote I just want to mention,
That's right.
I still don't have a vote.
You actually are somebody who should have a vote, in my opinion. But yeah, I wasn't.
I'm not saying you should suggest I vote, because I probably wouldn't vote anyways.
Yes, you would, because I would bug you about it.
When is it? Well, you know what? I know enough people where they would actually like talk about it and remind me.
Yes,
because they would.
And I would not let you forget it if you didn't vote. I would tease you forever about it.
Yeah, that's true.
I would give you a hard time.
So Ken Walton, getting back to Kent Walton.
Ken Walton, I mean, he was the voice. You know, if all the other people like Dick Lane are going to be in there.
But see, like Morales didn't get in, and that's where
frustrates me.
That's where I don't get like Kent Walton. I'm guessing Dave must have added a bunch of British people to vote.
Oh, there's more.
English. It's probably not even British. English, British. What's?
Yeah. Well, and since the voters
European.
Since the voters are anonymous, we don't know how many people are on there that are familiar.
I actually know. I've been doing some research. I will have every single name of every Observer voter.
Seriously?
Available soon.
Well, because a lot of people.
No, I have. I'm.
That's awesome.
I'm kidding.
No, that's cool. But no. There's people like me.
I am going to out everybody.
There's people like me who come out and say I am a voter.
No, you know what it is? There's a lot of people, like now with podcasts and with blogs, there's a lot more people who are saying that they're voters. Like,
yes.
You've mentioned it. Chris Zellner's mentioned it. The guys on Observer have mentioned it. There's a lot more people that are out there that have said that they're voters. So, I mean, you kind of... If you listen to the people when they talk about it, you can kind of tell who they're voting for.
Yeah, and I'm not totally shocked that... actually, I'm not shocked at all that Villano didn't get in. I really didn't think he would. But,
I know.
But I'm bummed.
You're not shocked because you already know how it works. Like,
yeah, I mean...
it's all Dave Meltzer's...
Well, what I do like is the majority of the Luchadores numbers were rising as compared to last year.
Active wrestlers. Did you notice with active wrestlers? Active wrestlers, Atlantis was like the second or third guy.
Yeah, that's true.
Active wrestlers.
That's true.
The most embarrassing voting was by the reporters and the historians. Such a disturbing trend between those.
No, I've read it, but
I really like to know who those people are. They disgust me.
Yeah, I disgust me.
Where do you
disgust me?
Well, I mean, it's always going to be something that's based on opinion, anyway.
Yes.
Like we were saying, like Dave, I think most of you guys, he gives you more or less what you should vote on, like the category, his opinion. But then you guys go with what you're thinking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, when people do like podcasts and stuff talking about who they would put in, I usually just blank,
Yeah.
I pretend I don't even listen to them. I really try to just go with my own gut.
Yeah.
Well, one thing you did point is there was kind of the Bill Miller syndrome where if you do a bio of somebody like Bill Miller in The Observer, that is going to give people... Martin Cardigan, yes. Well, and that's a whole different subject there. He was enlisted as an overlooked historical figure, similar to Vladek Zabisco. But I do think if you do a bio, that it is going to give people a better historical understanding of it. And I don't see anything wrong with that, actually.
How much truth do you have to put in the bio? I'm just saying, because I could write Atlantis' bio, and he did swim with dolphins. That should get him.
He'd get my vote right there, just because he swam with dolphins.
There's proof. There's video proof.
Well, that's why I should never be.
He's done it actually twice, three times.
Well, and that's why I would be a terrible judge at mixed martial arts, because I will always take a point off Alan Belcher's matches for that terrible tattoo he has of Johnny Cash on his left arm. Geez. The tattoo that looks more like Napoleon Dynamite's grandmother. So I would always take a point. I don't care what happens in the octagon. So yeah. But no, the only thing I would say to that is, if you're using bios, I think it should be spread across the board. You should have bios of Bill Miller, but you should also have some of Villano, of Jackie Paulo, Big Daddy.
Yeah.
It should be spread across the different cultural lines.
I kind of think one of the things I think the Observer should add to their website, not to nitpick, they should add a section where they just have the bios.
That would be great, actually.
Like just put a list of the bios. They can make it for the members only. I mean,
that would be awesome. Actually, I would love that.
Yeah, because if you're looking through the newsletters, you're never gonna find it. You're never gonna find it. You have to know the date and everything, or like read the title, and it's gonna just take forever.
Yeah, because I read most of the Observers through the hard copy, through the mail. I somehow have don't have enough patience to read it thoroughly on my computer, and therefore I missed the Vladik Zabisco biography.
And now you can't find it.
Yeah, I could probably find it, but I have to look. But I have to look for it. You know what I mean? It'd be great if there was a list of bios you could just pull down.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because I wasn't taking the hard copy at the time.
That's why I said they should have hired the Cubs fan, and they don't listen.
Yep. But yeah, well, maybe that's something that would be a good thing to pitch to people like Cubs fan Chris Zellner, Alfredo Esparza.
I don't vote.
More bios.
I don't have to write.
But you could write bios of the luchadores. Seriously, I think it would be awesome.
Bios.
Good.
I'm writing mini bios on my site,
especially the historical figures.
Oh, not this.
Oh, come on.
That's Dr. Lucha's. I don't want to take Dr. Lucha's job.
Okay, you don't want to steal his thunder.
Yeah, it's his job. He likes doing that.
And he does a great job at that, too, as has Jose Fernandez.
Poor Dr. Lucha always has to be told to cut down his articles all the time.
Too many words.
Too many words. But you know what it is.
Well, being a Wordsworth fan of poetry, I always dug the wordiness of people.
It's hard to write shorter stories than it is to write something really long.
Oh, it is. It is. So. Oh, I remember my father, nuclear physicist, talked about how much harder it is to explain a concept in a short amount of time, because he had a friend who was giving some complex lecture on nuclear magnetic physics, and the guy who lobbied to get him to make the presentation said, well, how long do you need? And he says, well, that depends. If it's a 10-minute lecture, give me about 2 weeks to prepare it. If it's a 30-minute lecture, give me about a week. If it's a 45-minute lecture, 5 days. And then he said, but if I have as much time as you want, I can start right now. So, to get something over in the least amount of words takes more work than people think. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to figure out what to put in, what to leave out.
That's why it's great to have your own blog.
Exactly. No word limit. No time limit.
Although sometimes you write it and you kind of regret wasting all that time.
Yep.
Yeah, so with Blue Panther Villano 3, I think it's just more of it's more of a people have to know a little more. I don't know. It really comes down to who's voting exactly.
Yes.
And how Dave adds up the numbers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume.
Well, I think he adds up the numbers correctly.
Dave should be adding Blue Panther automatically, because he was a Blue Panther fan.
That's right.
Remember, he was.
Yep, he was. This is true. Well, we covered quite a bit, despite
screwing up.
Yeah, despite screwing up the first one. So we want to thank you, cats, for listening. We are going to be doing another edition of Lucha World very soon. And this Thursday night, we'll be doing another edition of Slam and Stan. And I think we should return the trivia contest to Slam and Stan this Thursday. It would be bitchin'. I think it would be so cool. We'll think about it.
Yeah.
So until the next podcast, thank you, cats, for listening.